Now, in France, President Emmanuel Macron was on TV here last night for a long interview. He used that pre-recorded slot to reflect on both the pandemic and mistakes he said he'd made, while also saying he learned a lot from them both. The 43-year-old leader has been criticized for his sharp tongue and his top-down approach to power, something that's been reflected in the polls for the presidential election next spring. But Macron has still yet to say if he's running for re-election, and he did his best to not answer that question again last night.
With just 4 months before the election, does that give you an incentive to run again and get elected?
It gives me the incentive to keep thinking about it. I've said it before, I'll keep working till the 11th hour and then decide. I've never thought that in 5 years we could transform everything, transform a country. I will continue to look ahead and do it objectively and seriously.
French politics editor Marc Perelman was listening into that interview last night. He joins me now on the set. Marc, why is Macron being so coy? Why doesn't he just throw his hat in the ring?
Well, because it's very comfortable for him. Because, first of all, he's ahead in the polls. Then he is the incumbent, and so he can certainly use his pulpit as president not to throw his hat into the ring, but convey the message that he will probably do so when he decides. First of all, the election is still over 3 months away, and the whole idea yesterday was to convey the message that clearly he's here to stay. He didn't need to say it, but the way this was organized, what he said yes, all my reforms are about not only 5 years, but looking ahead. Clearly, you can see in his eyes that he has his will is very present to be a candidate again. I mean, François Hollande, just 5 years ago, announced in early December that he would not run again for president. Emmanuel Macron is not in the same situation. Yesterday, he needed to show empathy. Yes, I made mistakes, but I'm still a reformer. So he really tried to play this balancing act between, yes, I learned, yes, I improved, yes, I'm listening more, but I'm still very ambitious, and you could clearly see that.
Now, Macron's interview was broadcast on the biggest private network here, TF1. Also, a longer version was broadcast on a sister cable station. And yet this interview's been criticized. Why?
Well, because we're already in the presidential campaign. So the opposition, even before the interview, said, no, he's abusing his airtime as president to present himself as a candidate. And after the interview, it said, well, he only talked about himself. This was really to show a more human face, but this was essentially a propaganda exercise. And it's true that this was not a live interview. This was taped. So obviously, there was a much longer version. You could see him trying to show his emotions, bordering on tears when he talked about some very sensitive issues, the killing of this Professor Samuel Paty and how he received that. So yes, there was a bit of theater, a political theater, clearly, but he probably doesn't care. What he wanted is to tell the French before the holidays that, yes, he's thinking very hard about being president. Obviously, he still has to deal with a pandemic that's pretty much there, that's going to consume his time. There's already an emergency meeting scheduled for tomorrow, Friday, which could totally change the equation. This is also probably why he's being cautious, because he knows that every week is different these days, maybe more than usual, and that there's still a long way to go. But for now, it's comfortable to be a president/nearly candidate.
All right, Marc, thanks for that. France 24's Marc Perelman.